Hi everyone, welcome to the CC God Show. Today I have the girlfriend of Chris Boucher, Toronto Raptors champion, here today with us. And she is a student, a musician, she sings, and also a businesswoman. She has a training, company. And, we're right now, because of COVID-19, a lot of relationships are being tested in terms of, people who are used to being at home, aren't home anymore. What am I saying? Not saying that they're not home anymore. What I'm trying to say is that people who are not used to being home, who are out, and the breadwinners in the couple working hard, that's out there making the money, working hard, for the household, are forced to be at home. They're not able to make money for their families. They're just waiting on the epidemic to end, quarantine. So it's forcing couples to face on certain challenges and certain things that we're not used to. So, in terms of, seeing the person all the time. So arguments are going to happen at home, which are happening in plenty of couples. We don't know, with this epidemic going on right now, that, for instance, there's going to be a lot of babies, I'm assuming, being created, a lot of divorces, a lot of separations, unfortunately, a lot of heartbreak and breakups. Couples are, going through, not only losing their jobs, the insecurities, the uncertainty. For a lot of people, their identity is work. Okay? So when I talk about being their identity work, it's super important. It's their status. It's who they are. That's what they love to do. Go get money for their family, work hard, be out there, go do, I don't know, in terms of if you're a singer, do concerts. If you're, an athlete, play games, and you're unable to do that right now. And, it's great to be around your family, to see your kids and things like that, but people are getting fed up. People are getting fed up. People who are not used to being at home are used to being seen. A lot of arguments and things that, wouldn't occur are occurring right now. A lot of spouses have told me that they're getting to know who they are really married to right now. They are really getting to know. So not only are we being tested with our health right now, we are being tested with our relationships right now. We are being tested with our families right now. And honestly, I can only say that it's super important right now to keep your faith, to keep your faith, to keep strong for your family, to keep your relationship strong. If you're going through this, mental health is going to be a big issue after this epidemic. Mental health is definitely going to be a big issue. And, it touches me a lot because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people are being laid off. A lot of relationships are taking a different turn. And people thought that maybe being in the home together will, keep them together, keep them closer. But, having that, freedom to go see your friends, to have a walk, to go have a time with your girls, or to have times with your boys, isn't the reality right now. You can't go sit around in a restaurant and have fun with friends. I know certain cities and certain states are opening up, but people are still being careful because people are, sick, and people are still dying, and people are still spreading the virus. So right now I have a guest here that I have today. Her name is Cassandra. She's been dating. A lot of you have saw her on social media, on Chris Boucher's social media, on her social media, that they were going through a really wonderful, relationship. And we're going to get into the details of what went on, what led to their breakup, what's gone on, why are they not together anymore, what, advice she has for our women. A lot of women look up to us and say, hey, I want to be with a, I don't know, an NBA player. I want to be with a world champion, all those things. And, we have somebody here that's really going to say the truth, that's going to be, able to talk about her truth. And I'm going to give her the opportunity, and I'm super happy to have her here as a guest on the show today. Hi, everyone. I just want to welcome Cassandra here. She's from Toronto, and she's the girlfriend of, we'll get into that a little bit more, of Chris Boucher. And she's an artist, also a, how do I say, a really good trainer. We'll get into that, a great mother. And I just wanted us to get to know her, and I want to welcome her to the CC God Show. And how are you doing today, Cassandra?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. How are you dealing with COVID-19? The whole situation. I know it's not like easy for anyone.
Yeah, so basically right now I've just kind of been mostly indoors with my son. I just moved into a new apartment, so I've been trying to stay clear of everything. It was kind of hectic moving in. I wanted to stay clear because I have an autoimmune disorder. I have Graves' disease, so it pretty much attacks my thyroid and all of that. So I really can get sick pretty easily. So I'm just trying to stay clear of anything that I can. In the meantime, I just go to the grocery store and come home, and that's pretty much about it. I've just been, having a lot of fun with my toddler, so he keeps me busy.
Yeah, you look super young, so it's so shocking to see you have such a wonderful boy. I know I've been following you on social media, and I see your wonderful training. I know that you were training clients and things like that. I was even getting into the personal training and training with you, but even the circumstance, it's been just a little bit tough. And
Yeah.
I also want to get into, a lot of people kind of know you for being in a public relationship with Toronto Raptors star, NBA star champion Chris Boucher. And I want to get into that a little bit more. I saw beautiful pictures of the YouTube. You guys looked so great, such a wonderful couple. How's it going with him?
So we're no longer together. We ended a few weeks ago, actually. It's just been a pretty big journey, I would say. I mean, you probably understand, being somebody who had somebody in the limelight and obviously an athlete. It's super different. This is my first time being with an athlete, so especially somewhat of a serious relationship. So I found it pretty different in my life. I mean, he was a great guy, and we just, fell apart. And obviously it wasn't as easy, with Corona. It's affecting a lot of things. So I feel it just affected a lot of the situation, just sitting at home, and everything was great, but it just didn't work out the way that we thought it would be. And
I was so happy. I kept seeing you guys on social media. He was posting you were posting him. And, coronavirus right now, a lot of people are going through relationship issues. I totally understand, like you said, being with a public figure, it's not easy, especially a professional athlete. The Toronto Raptors are the champions right now of, still, because there's no basketball going on right now. Everybody's kind of sitting at home. So I'm sure, this type of show is more of a sisterhood. I want you to feel comfortable and, really discuss, in terms of, telling our viewers and our ladies, how is it being with such a public figure, the Toronto Raptors, Chris Boucher Montreal, he's a Canadian, our people. And I feel being with a star, even me myself, I was with the world champion. How was it, how was the relationship? You guys were doing so great. I thought you guys were going married.
I thought the same. I really thought the same, but I think it's, especially with basketball being taken away, I think, from him specifically and his experience. I mean, a lot of people do know his story. He's been public about his past, being homeless, and I think it affects him in a lot of ways. That basketball is definitely an outlet for him. So it's definitely something that brings him peace. It distracts him. And I think without that, like I was mentioning, the fact that Corona is happening right now and he has to be in quarantine, I personally feel like it affected him. And when you have to sit with your thoughts, I think that it can really affect the person and how, their judgment on things and how they act. So I feel that definitely it's hard being with somebody who's definitely in the limelight, because you know how it is. There's everybody from every which angle trying to join in on your relationship. Ruining relationships, actually. So it becomes very difficult to make sure you have that trust in your relationship. And unfortunately, I thought that the trust was there, but it didn't work out. So I definitely think specifically with his situation, he's definitely dealing with a lot that he needs to come to terms with, and needs to battle through because of his past. And yeah, so personally, I feel like for him, he, I love and care for the guy. So there's definitely, I just want to see him do ultimately the best that he can do and be the best person and the best version of himself. So I feel that for that reason, I think he definitely needs to just, be on his own journey right now and focus on finding himself and finding what's best for him, especially coping with everything that's happened in his life. So,
absolutely.
Especially not with basketball being around, he needs to find ultimately something to help cope with that. It can't always just be the basketball, it's because it's not something that could be forever. So
absolutely. Wow, you've touched on so many great points here. One great thing, Cassandra, that you've touched on is number one, basketball not being there right now. A lot of people are suffering because the NBA, it's not playing. People look up to that. People watch, activities that we were doing. Quarantine is really hard on everybody, right?
Yes.
So you look at somebody who's a professional athlete that's used to traveling, that's used to playing the sport that he loves, any sport he knows to do, right? And then he's not doing that, right? So that's a bit difficult and challenging for everyone when you look at quarantine, right? And then, basketball, it's true, it's not forever. You have that, span of time, and you want to be successful. And being in a relationship with a public figure, a lot of ladies look up to us, look up to women who are in, relationships of that stature. But what they don't know is the sacrifices that women take being in that relationship.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sacrifice, the people coming up to you, the groupies, the life, it's not, you have to be a very hard woman. You have to be very, comfortable within your own skin, very confident woman.
Yes.
It's not an easy thing, and, my heart goes out to you, in terms of like, I know how difficult and challenging a relationship like that can be. And so, also you're a mother, you have a son, and it's just like, you don't want to be in a relationship just, I know you guys were
for fun. Yeah.
fun, and that's not the type of woman that you are. So, and you have your own career as well. You do your training, you have your music out as well that I'm super excited and that we're going to get to discuss about. And so it's just like, it's really, it's a really tough thing. And I mean, I don't know, like, how are you feeling in terms of that? Like, I know that, Chris Boucher is from Canada, so we kind of know his stories from Montreal. My ex is from Montreal. So, and I know his background in terms of like, it reminds me a lot of my ex. My ex was homeless as well. So you look at these professional athletes, they come from a difficult background, then they're in the limelight, and sometimes, they don't go through their dark, their dark demons or their dark past. There's difficulties that go through, and that challenges that people don't see, but because we're so close to them, we get to see those difficulties and those challenges that they're going through. So, I mean, my heart goes out to you, Cass.
It's definitely, something difficult, especially because I had brought my son into the relationship. And, him coming from obviously a single mother growing up, I really felt that would be something that would be understood. So I think that's just what kind of affects me the most, is just having to explain, constantly to my son, or having to explain like just the situation, because people start seeing you. And, I was briefly explaining to you before about my older Instagram that I had, and it was a little bit more known obviously than my new Instagram now. So just me deactivating my account before was because there was just so much coming at me, and obviously groupies and, people messaging me and stuff. So that started to affect me, where I just needed like a little break just to be with him. And we went through quarantine together, and we were just getting to know each other even more. So it was definitely like a great experience. And, I really care for him. So I just wanted to see him do the best. And unfortunately, like, you have to be super careful with who you're around, and obviously who he surrounds himself with. And I just want to see that turn out to be the best that it could be, because you can see how, you even know how the demons can come out of them pretty much, where when they sit with their own thoughts alone, we're the only people that are pretty much seeing like how they feel and what they're going through. So it just sucks, because you can see such a great potential, and you just want to see them at peace, basically. So I think just the most part would be for me is just definitely being a mother and being my son, and introducing him into any relationship that comes in my life will always be, difficult as a single mother to be able to bring your child into. So, but especially just bringing him into somebody who is a professional basketball player was just a little bit, I feel, trickier than being with anybody else. So I think that's just the most pretty much intense part of it, is just my son, So
to be your mother, you brought your son, he saw him like, as a father figure almost, it's somebody that came up that loved you. It's going to be a difficult, challenging thing for your son, you and yourself. My question to you would be, would you, if for example, Chris Boucher was like, let's get back into a relationship, would you go back? I don't put in the spot. I'm just like wondering, like, have you put at peace to it? Do you feel like there's closure? There's no judgment.
Yeah.
You love the guy. There's nothing wrong with it.
I definitely, like I said, I want to see him do the best. And if that were the case, which I don't think is the case, just considering the situation, I feel that it would have to be a good amount of therapy. I'm a huge person on believing in speaking your feelings, your emotions, and I feel like that helps repair and heal a lot of people. So I feel that in order to even take maybe that step, would have to be therapy, and I know a lot of people ask him to do therapy. So I was very close to getting him to do it, but he just doesn't seem ready. So if that were the case, it would definitely have to be something along the lines of, for sure, therapy.
Wow.
And just getting himself healed first. Yeah.
You've definitely taken out the words out of my mouth. I was just going to say that. I was like, maybe therapy, could fix up, the relationship, if that were to be, both you being from both of you guys, accepting therapy. I do think therapy is definitely helpful. I even thought that it would be helpful for my relationship, to be honest with you, at the time as well. We didn't get the chance to have therapy as well. And it's just like, going through a traumatic situation, his injury, I wanted to do therapy. But definitely, therapy is a really big thing, because sometimes you go through rough, I applaud his success in terms of like basketball, and where his success, where he gunned himself, and, him being homeless, and then, being that successful.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And
he's very talented.
Understand, what other things that they're going through. And, I definitely wish him the best. I wish you the best. And I still want to, get into, if you were to say, like, if there's things that you could do differently, is there something that you would do differently? Or, is something that you would advise women in terms of, these type of relationships, being with public figures, NBA players, NFL players, champions, whatever you name it?
Well, definitely, I would say be very cautious of everything. I felt like I was super cautious, and I felt like you have to be very open and communicate. That's just with any relationship, but more specifically when you're with somebody that's in the public eye, you have to have a bond that's so tight, because anybody's going to try to break that, or anybody's going to try to get in between that. And ultimately, like, it could be good or bad. Like, people could have good intentions or bad intentions. So you just need to really be well aware of yourself as a person and what you can handle in a relationship and what you can stand. And you need to set those ground rules from the start, because that's where things will start to get blurred and people will think that they can do certain things and it affects you. And then, like with my situation, I had a kid, so it could affect whatever's affecting me ultimately will affect my son's emotions. So
100%.
I knew from the start, there's certain things I cannot handle. There's certain things I cannot do. And you just got to set those ground rules from the start, and you got to know who you are most importantly. And also you have to be super understanding of their job. At the end of the day, like, you can't just be like, oh, I want to go do this today, when you know that they have press conferences, they have meetings, they have workouts to do, they have like 1,000 other things that you don't even know and that they have to do. People don't see the behind the scenes of what they have to go through and the amount of things that they can't do. They have to move a certain way, even for their social medias, and for everything that they speak, they have to be so careful. Yeah. So you have to be super, super understanding. And I totally understand that 100%. I've always been super supportive in making sure he's eating right, making sure he has like the best sleep pattern, making sure he's going to practices. Those are things, it's kind of like taking care of another kid in a little aspect, because you really have to make sure that they're okay, because that's, even though they're playing a sport, that's their job. They need to be healthy. They need to be, their mind has to be on it, because the second that you're off, any little thing that you can trigger them when they're playing their game can make them play off, and that affects, their future. That affects how they eat. That affects everything. So I think that too is very important. You have to be super understanding of their schedule, and you have to be really, really aware of, what they expect. Like, I know Chris has certain superstitions where he has to eat certain food before his game. So I just made that very aware to be, okay, let me go pick him up this before his game, because that's his superstition. And it might be too far for some girls. Some girls might be like, hey girl, why are you even doing that? But I think they just make your man happy ultimately, and obviously you want that same respect back, and you have to make sure you are getting that same respect back. Otherwise, it's not going to go anywhere. So yeah, I think
like work ethic is what people don't know. There are people who are super disciplined, the people who work hard and things like that. And then the thing is, it's like, as a woman, that's where I was discussing, like, you make so many sacrifices in the sense that, like, I even also, you have your own career, you have your things that are going on, you're a mom, you have all that stuff, but they expect you to be there 24/7. So like, a girl who doesn't have anything to do, it's easy.
The best for her.
But for somebody who wants to do something, it's very challenging, because you're like, what? Like, I have things to do. I want to support you, but honey, like, I can't. And it's like, sometimes I can't. They don't understand that. So, that's crazy, because for a lot of his games, actually, they're around 7 p.m. start. So a lot of the times I wouldn't come until, maybe about like the second quarter, or because I would be feeding my son dinner. So my priority would be, hey, I need to feed my son dinner, and then I'm going to show up to the game. So just little things like that people wouldn't, like, you have to have a very strict schedule, and you have to be on a routine. So just something simple as that, showing up to the game when I could, because he'd want me at the game. He'd be like, you're my good luck charm. Like, I'm starting to play better now that you're here, So and it was important for me to be there. He's been playing good, and
he's been playing really well.
Yeah, I feel
so it was important to be there, So, and I knew it was important to him, because that became something where he's like, I need you to be there. So if that's important to him, I got to balance, my life, and obviously being a mother is utmost first. That's the first thing. So always feed my son dinner and just go straight to the game.
No, honestly, I applaud you, and these are the type of things. I was having this discussion with one wife, like an NFL wife that's a really good friend of mine, and we were discussing those things. And it's really important to sometimes even forget, like, you being like, not you being in a relationship, but ultimately you being a mom also. When you're a mom, like, you seriously, like, need to
have to balance.
For yourself, So let me ask you this, Cassandra, like, do you take time for yourself? What do you do to keep yourself happy? Like, in terms of, like, because you don't want to be running on the back burner, like giving your relationship time, giving your child time. I know it happened to me, shutting down because you're giving so much to your relationship, so much to your son or your child, and it's like you don't have time for yourself.
I feel like I've always been somebody who's been a multitasker. I don't know, I've just always been somebody that's on the go. I have to do like a billion things at a time or I get super bored. I feel like I'm doing nothing with my life if I really sit down. The only time I really like to enjoy myself sitting down is if I'm on vacation. And I'm sure you understand that as a business mom. And, obviously when you have like a toddler, as soon as you even give birth to a child, that's the time where you realize your life is completely switched. You got to learn that you're going to be doing 1,000 things at one time. So I think what I do try to do in times that I do have is definitely like work out, or I'm obviously working on my singing, so I've been recording a lot. But most of the time, and I'm also in school, so I'm finishing my undergrad right now and prepping for law school. Wow. So it's like a lot of things that I'm balancing at the same time, but I think it really keeps me sane, because I feel like if I really am not doing anything, I don't even know what I would do. I'd probably be so bored. So I'm happy to have a lot of things.
Yeah. So what year are you in for law school?
I'm not in law school yet. I'm in my last year of my undergrad at U of T. And I'm prepping though to prepare to figure out which law school I want to go to. I'm prepping for my LSATs. Okay. So I just don't know where I really want to go yet. Like I said, my focus kind of switched over to my music a lot right now. So I'm really deciding where I would even want to be. I know I wanted to go to London and actually study there, but now that everything's kind of switched around and my life's been a little bit different, I'm rearranging what I want to do. And I think my main focus is graduate and obviously figure out which law schools I can get into. But in the meantime, music has been pretty much my focus and on the side. So
I think that music is going to be kind of a ultimate distraction for you. Not a distraction. Let me
it's a good outlet though. It's like a distraction.
Yeah, a distraction, but also do you feel like it's going to be what you're feeling in your heart, a healing process for your relationship, and you discussing the things that a woman goes through when she's heartbroken, and things like that,
I definitely do speak on a lot of my relationships in my music, and that's just something that I've always done with my music. It's just been an outlet, so I think with everything going on, it's definitely helped me to be able to write more and to be able to actually put it into a song. So, and I've gotten some good feedback, so I'm happy with that, and I definitely have a lot more to say in my life, so I'll be writing a lot more.
We're gonna check out. I know you said that your music are on all the platforms, so we're definitely gonna check it out. I would strongly suggest our viewers and our ladies here to listen to Cassandra's music, get into it. I'm sure that a lot of you can relate to it, and a lot of you can feel what she's feeling. We've all been heartbroken, we've all gone through roller coasters when it comes to relationships, and just we will definitely look into your music. And I would say, what would be a lesson that you learned from this, and what is your future goals in terms of this, and how can people get connected with you now? And
well, what I've definitely learned in this last while is just to take the time for myself, because I feel that prior to this, I was also in a relationship for about 2 years. So I feel like the last few years of my life have been in a relationship, and I think right now is the time where I'm learning to just focus on myself and, ultimately finish school, finish my music, and just really put my energy into myself and learning more about myself and what I ultimately would want if I do get into a relationship anytime soon or in the future. I feel like this was a huge learning process, and it taught me a lot about myself, especially because it was a little bit different being with somebody that's in the limelight. So it really taught me a lot about understanding myself, how to act, even business aspect wise. It taught me a lot throughout, seeing the business with him. So it's just it's good that I felt like I went through that process. And from now on, I just know that my main focus is myself, my son, my music, my school. And I really just want to grow a platform where ultimately I can also talk about, you know, being a single mom. I have like a pretty crazy story with that. So it's, you know, like a lot of people don't know about my story being a single mom. So that's something that I've always wanted to do. And that's the main reason why I started my personal training business, because I started training a lot of moms, and I used to run boot camps throughout Good Life. I used to run boot camps at private gyms, and it was very important to me to be able to like empower women. So finally, now I feel like I have the time to put the energy into building something that's on that platform where I can just help empower other women and moms, most importantly, especially single moms.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
I really love that you touched on single moms, you know what I mean? Like, shout out to single moms. Like,
they're doing it, honestly.
I'm a single mom. I was raised by a single mom, and you know, it is not easy, especially during these times. I find with coronavirus, and
it's hard when you're stuck in the house with just a toddler to talk to, you know. So
exactly,
you know, you gotta be really strong, and you gotta have a really strong mind.
And working at the same time, they want your attention, pulling you, they're pulling this. It's not an easy thing, and you know, a lot of people don't understand that, and a lot of people, whether people know it or not, a lot of people are gonna, you know, it's sad to say, but a lot of people are gonna die being single. You know what I mean? When you look
at that, and that's what I don't want. So,
but I'm not saying that, like, you know, for single moms. I'm just saying die being single
in general. In general.
And people, you know, don't value relationships as they do, and I feel like maybe quarantine. And I hope quarantine has helped people to show what true values are. You know, in terms of like, you know, families, relationships, things like that. Because when you look at, you know, relationships, for instance, you know, they're being challenged, but you know, people who are rich, people who are poor, people who are in average, you know, making average money are all in the same situation. But
they're all in the same boat.
They're all on the same boat, and the only thing that's keeping them are values, family, you know, like that, and relationships. So you know, you're a beautiful girl. I wish you the best. I know definitely you're gonna find a, you know, whether you're back with your ex or not, or you find somebody else, who knows what the future will be. You know, but you know, I definitely wish you the best, and you know, I want people to understand that, you know, life is, it's sad. Like, you don't want to die single. You want to, you know, everybody looks to be loved, and you know, to be with who loves them, and you know, it's important to, you know, value relationships, I find, you know.
For sure. And I think it's great that you touch on that, because I find a lot of, you know, people nowadays, they don't really value that. It's very hard for them to even understand or grasp the concept of what a traditional old school relationship is. And I grew up with my parents together, like they're still together, and they're pretty much high school sweethearts. So it's like, it's important for me that I see that. And now obviously being a single mom, it's hard for me and to motivate myself to be something along the lines of that while being single. So I really always tell any of my friends or anybody I meet, I explain to them how important it is to really value good relationships, and understanding that like it's possible, it's still possible these days, but I feel that a lot has to do with social media, how our society acts, and how, you know, everything goes about. I feel like that all ties in with how our relationships work and run nowadays. So yeah, I think it's very important that people are kind of stuck inside with their significant others, or alone, you know, whatever it may be. And you have to sit with the fact to think about how important relationships really are, and how important it is to really value other people, because life is short, and you don't want to die alone, you know. So
forcing, and they're forcing relationships to stick on, and to, you know what I mean, stay together, and to, you know, to push it through. And you know, I applaud you so hard, Cassandra, because a lot of women will never leave a relationship like that. Oh, okay. And you know, love that we discussed this, because this is my thing here. A lot of women were like, I'd rather cry in a Rolls Royce than cry in a Honda.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like,
yep.
what is crying in a Rolls Royce? Why am I even crying?
Yes.
Even
yes.
I
I've had many of my friends say that.
I don't care. It's Rolls Royce. What are you talking about?
Yes.
And to be able to walk away from a relationship where, you know, you're with a public figure, a lot of women are looking up to you, a lot of women are waiting for you to step out so they can take your place.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh yeah, they are.
Strength. It takes really big strength, you know.
And I think ultimately, like, that's one thing that I told myself. I do not like being embarrassed. There's absolutely no way I would ever let a man publicly embarrass me. So I'd rather walk away before, you know, it continuously happens to me. And especially being a mother, I need to set those ground rules to teach my son, to learn how to raise my son to be respectful to a woman, and that's not okay. Because if he sees his mother taking advantage of that and doing whatever, that's going to be ultimately affecting my son. Whether I think that he's still young and he won't notice, he will. They take on the values. Your children watch exactly everything that you do. So, like I said, being embarrassed is one thing I will never, ever take. I will never stand for. It's one thing that you just have to love yourself. And like, yeah, I come with baggage being my child, and I still know my value, and I still know that I can bring a lot to the table. And yeah, like you're crying in the Rolls Royce situation. I had a lot of my so-called friends tell me, hey, just stick through it. Like, you know, like this is the situation, like you're in a good situation. I'm like, that's not what's meant to be a good situation. I've seen my parents, you know, they might have not been the richest or, you know, had everything, but I've seen what a good relationship is, and I've seen what respect and what, you know, loyalty is. And that's what's most important in a relationship. And you need to have that. Like, if you don't respect your partner, like, you never will if you're just walking all over them. So Absolutely. It's important.
Absolutely. And, you know, I used to tell that to my ex too. The second you embarrass me, I'm out. I don't care. Like, you know, do not embarrass me in public. And people come to me. Do not even try to say anything.
It comes around fast.
Yeah, people will tell me the truth. And, you know, being a public figure, that's the reality. And then it's just like, it's a difficult thing, you know, it's a difficult thing even to walk away. And I applaud you.
Especially, because like my music, you know, my music is also very important to me. And ultimately I want to be a lawyer. I still want to have that. And to be embarrassed or to have people ever say that somebody could ever be doing stuff behind my back, that would be the utmost embarrassment for somebody like me who wants to have a great career. And, you know, I've born and raised in Toronto. So everything comes around full circle to me because of, you know, you meet everybody. Everything's really small. Word of mouth. Everybody knows each other. Everybody knows each other here. So I feel like things get to me very fast, and that's not something I want. Like, I want a good career, and I don't want anything messing up my reputation or, you know, messing with my head ultimately, because it affects my son. So
absolutely. And, you know, sometimes being in the public eye, it's not easy. You know, people will try to come out for you. People will try to come out for you in every way because the limelight is on you. And ultimately, people don't understand that when you're dating or when you're in a relationship or you're married or whatever the case may be with the public eye, people are watching your every move too. So when they're watching you too, it's like people are coming to you, you know, because they can't talk to him. They're the second person that they're coming up to. So you take on so much. And I mean, like, a lot of women would not walk away and to say, I don't care about the money. I don't care about the status. Who you are. Like, this is not who I am. I am Cassandra. I'm a woman, and I'm gonna make whoever, like, you know, however I need to make it, because I have talent. I'm smart and I'm ambitious. That is, I applaud you, and I have so much respect for you for doing that. And I hope our ladies can understand that, You know, like
Yeah.
it's not to say all, you know, all celebrities are not like this, all public figures are not like this.
Yeah.
You know, you can have different relationships. Everybody is different, but it's important to value yourself first going in, so that, you know, you don't feel like when you're leaving out, this person took away your, you know what I mean?
Like had control over everything in your life. And that's one thing that I always told myself is I was taking care of myself before my son, with my son, and before Chris. So that's something that was always in my head. Like I understood whatever was his. Whatever I brought to the table has always been mine. I went into it having my business. I went into still going to school, prepping for law school, being a mother, you know, and everything I had, I owned myself. So it's so important that you come to the table with that, because the second that somebody has that control, or especially money is very evil, and having that control over anybody, it sucks, and you can get stuck in a very dark place. And you can, you know, that's why I find a lot of women will stay in a situation too, is when they have nothing to offer and no value in themselves. And we need to have that.
Yeah, a lot of women will stay for a house, a lot of men and women will stay for a car, a lot of women material, like, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, when you're a woman who believes in herself, okay, when you're a woman who believes in herself and that's comfortable with herself, okay, who's done the work, I've been taking care of myself too before I was with my ex. At the end of the day, it's like I've already had something for myself going on, which means at the end of the day, like, I'll be okay, you know, and you have to be okay walking out of the relationship, because if they are able to control you with all of the money and everything that they have, then after that, it's going to be hard for you to walk away. And a lot of people will have to tolerate disrespect, tolerate a lot of things that you don't want to be tolerating. So, you know, to see you doing that, we're definitely, you know, going to tune into your music.
Thank you.
COVID-19 affected your business, and it's affected a lot of viewers as well, entrepreneurs, it's been businesses as well. I know it's a temporary thing. We're all in this together. Once your training picks back up, we're gonna be on the lookout. Please tell everybody here what your new Instagram is, because I was following you on your other I think I'm still following you on your old
it's deactivated, so I can't log in because I got a new phone number. So Instagram unfortunately isn't replying to my emails, so I've been waiting to try to get back into that account. But for now, I have a new Instagram. It's I am Rosamere, so Rosamere, ROSAMERE. So it's pretty simple. But
thank you so much for watching. I'll be posting a video every week. Just subscribe in the button below and you will see a little bell, and it will notify you whenever I have a new episode up. Make sure to also comment and like below in the column. I would love to hear your opinions and any guests you would want me to have on my show. Thank you so much and have a great day. Love you guys.